Let's now take a look at our item page where we display the details of a single item. So we can visit this page by clicking on one of the item summaries on the home page. Now this has taken us through to the item page, but we don't actually see any data rendered yet. And if we take a look at the item component, you can see that in the template here we're either interpolating or binding a whole bunch of properties on this object called item. But down in the component definition, you can see this item object down here it's a computed property and it's just returning an empty object. So that's why we don't actually see anything substantial rendered into this view just yet. So what we want to do in this video is link this computed property to our API data via the Vuex ORM Axios plugin. Now, unlike on the home page, we don't need to get the data for every item record here. We just need to get the one used specifically on this page. So we have an API endpoint for that, which is getItemsID. Now again, we can query this endpoint by using an out-of-the-box method from the Vuex ORM Axios plugin. So we'll come up here and import the item model into this component. And then we'll come down and we're going to make a created hook. And this one we're going to call item get, like that. Looking at the item page in the browser again, notice that the URL is in the format, the base URL, items path, and then on the end we have the Mongo ID. So what we can do is extract this ID from the URL using ViewRouter, and we'll pass that into the get method that we just put in the created hook. Okay, so let's now put a query object into this get method, and we're going to give it a property params and assign an object to that. Now we can specify the ID of the object that we want to get, and this is going to be this $route params ID. So that's how ViewRouter can give us the ID segment of the URL. Once the data is loaded from the API and inserted into the store, we can now retrieve it in this component by changing the item computed property to return the value item find, and then we pass in the ID. Now at the end of this line, we need to put or empty object. And the reason that we need to do that is that the get request down here may take a second or two to return. And so if this resolves to null, and if you try to access properties of a null object, you'll get an error. So once that code rebuilds, you can now see all the data for the item being rendered in the page. And if we check the network tab, again, you'll see the request to get items down here. And then if we go to the Vuex tab again, down here you'll once again see the entities insert or update mutation, and in the payload for that mutation you can see all the items data in there. Something to consider is that the data needed for this page may already be in the store when this view renders. For example, imagine a user visits the homepage of the app first, where all the data gets loaded. In that case, to save an unnecessarily expensive AJAX call, what we can do is we can wrap this get method call in a conditional. So what we'll do is we'll check if there's already an item instance with the ID that we're looking for. There we go, that will solve that problem.